All right. Good morning, Russ.
Good
How's the
morning.
weather
How
in
are
Phoenix?
you? Hot, dry, like a desert?
So it hasn't changed. Good.
Yeah. I'm in the flood business and I live in a desert. Explain that one.
Yeah, but you guys have those monsoons, right? Like I always hear about monsoon season in the desert,
Yeah, man. Monsoons are great. We get what, 5 or 6 inches of rain a year. So
and it all happens at once.
sometimes, if it ever happens. So
I'm always perplexed by desert communities, right? Like particularly ones like Phoenix and Vegas, where I'm like, you shouldn't exist. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
just shouldn't be there.
Well, we invented air conditioning, which made it a little bit more hospitable.
Yeah.
So
And you figured out how to
yeah.
grow like 7 different types of grass so you can have a lawn throughout
Well,
the
yeah,
entire.
we have our summer grass and our winter grass. You guys don't
Yeah.
have that?
No, I just have the same grass all year round. And in Michigan, they have grass and then snow, which is like a blanket for the grass.
Well, your summer grass in Michigan is our winter grass in Arizona.
Yeah,
It's like a ryegrass. Like our lawns look amazing in the winter time, but that's how it goes.
that is how it goes. All right. For those folks who don't know you, what's your current role and position within the RIA? I feel like you've been here forever.
I was just thinking about that. So um, I think this is actually my last year. I don't know if I'm getting replaced or not. Like, but I've got so I think it was 2019. Mark Springer um, reached out to me and basically voluntold me or asked me to be on the board.
Hmm.
I had to fill out a packet, and I was just like, I have no idea what this is. For me, for a long time, and this was kind of a bias. It seemed like the RIA was like an East Coast thing. Like if you lived
Mm-hmm.
east of the Mississippi, it's like for you guys. And there's a few West Coast guys that were there,
Hmm.
and it was part of the good old boys network. And I was just kind of a young dude and didn't
Hmm.
know any better. So, but Mark did an amazing job in that time frame. Put together an amazing board, got a bunch of different people involved, and kind of really took it from being just like a good old boy network or
Hmm.
just a bunch of old dudes sitting around talking about the good old days to like, here's a vision for our industry. Like,
Hmm.
what can we do for our industry? Here's what I envision this association being for our industry and what it needs to be for our industry in order for restorers to have a voice and to succeed. And so I was on that board for a while, went through some pretty amazing times. COVID hit, there was a lot of conversations around whether the RIA would have been there or not for to make it to past COVID, or COVID would have
Yep.
killed it too. But it was a really good learning time, and I think we came out from that event and from that time period a lot stronger. But I think at the time I was in the executive council, or I don't, I should know this, but I think I was, sitting on the executive council, helping doing a lot of those things. But I didn't want to be, or um, at the time, and this, but a lot of people may not. I've been dealing with some health issues, bad kidneys, not knowing where they were going to be at, or
Hmm.
this whole time when I first started on the board, my kidney function was at 25%. So I was really close just to needing a transplant or doing something along those lines. And so I didn't, it's like committing to something long term, or especially like a president position or something like that, was just like, just not even part of my radar. So,
Yeah.
I helped where I could, and I committed to being on the board, but I just didn't want to take a leadership position. And then, actually in 23, I actually, basically took a sabbatical while I was on, um, while I was on dialysis at the time. I was on home dialysis, and then actually next 11 months ago, so next month, and on the 13th, I got my transplant. So um, that's my doctor's right there. I'll have to leave a message. Um, but I got a transplant about a year ago, and things have been going good, and I'm starting, getting back, re-engaging. currently I sit on the tech panel
Mhm.
as a board member. You and I do some stuff together. We've been talking about tech and how we can help restorers embrace the technology and what can happen to them and how we can gain efficiencies from that. We had a good presentation in New Hampshire around some AI and some software solutions. We're going to do that again February 26th here in Phoenix. ATI is putting on their regional event. We'll be doing a board similar to that we
Mhm.
did in New Hampshire. And then the national conference is coming up at the end of April. And I think we're going to be doing a presentation there also. So
Yeah.
things in that space are changing a lot. So it's like, hey, we think we're going to do this. And then like new technology, new models, new stuff comes out and we're like, hey, well, scrap that. That's like last week's news. So we'll kind of do that. So it's a fun space, fun things to go on. So.
And then China's like, hey, we stole all your stuff and made it better.
Yeah, we did that, and then OpenAI released theirs and said, "Oh, by the way, But yeah, it's crazy how quickly like we used to think getting Uberized was a process over months, but DeepSeek, that you're referring to, came out over a weekend, and Nvidia lost $500 million of valuation,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, all the AIs looked like they're completely irrelevant to the $500 billion that everybody was promising to spend on all this infrastructure and data centers and all these new GPUs was all of a sudden made irrelevant by a couple of hundred Chinese guys that spent $6 million on an AI model.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems so high risk. I'm just happy like we're in a space where it's like, no, the building's wet and we just go get it dry, and buildings are going to get wet over time, and that's just part of it. So
you don't have to spend $10 billion on capex just to play the game.
yeah, no,
like oh, hey Anthony, you got to start a restoration company. I need to invest $1 billion in equipment just so you can get to your first claim.
yeah, yeah, I know. That's crazy. So take me back to the beginning. Why'd you choose restoration? How'd you get started?
Oh my gosh, that was such a fluke.
Nobody's like, I was 8 years old in the sandbox, smashing dump trucks together, going, I want to fix properties when they get wet.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. I was actually slinging newspapers when I was 8 years old. But in college, I actually bought. So in high school, I did some carpet cleaning, summer job type thing.
Yep.
College, a buddy of mine who did carpet cleaning said, "Hey, you should buy a truck mount and do some carpet cleaning." So did that, bought a truck mount, had a property management company I had some relationships with. And so just clean carpets, could kind of schedule them around my college time. And so that's what I did. I was cleaning apartments and getting those ready for turns. So eventually I came across one that was flooded and I was like, holy crap, what do we do? Had no idea, but it piqued an interest in me that kind of really started me on this journey. Like as I got inquisitive and asked questions and started learning, I had some great mentors along the way. And I was able to meet Chuck DeWald early on, really kind of expanded my mind and my thoughts and horizons. Kurt Bolden was also a good friend who taught me a lot of stuff. And, these were guys that back in the late 90s, early 2000s were questioning, they're basically pushing the boundaries and questioning what restoration really was. And there was a lot of, at that time, it's technology. We think of computers, but new technology, low grain refrigerants were new. The Hydro X was new. The, the thoughts of basically trying to dry a lot of stuff in and minimizing damage was really, really new. And so that really piqued my interest in the science behind it. And it's still like, don't tell any of my clients this, but I'd probably do floods for free if they'd let me just do some fun jobs.
Yeah, right. I remember when I had the pleasure of taking my ASD at Bolden's, like right after he built what he called it, the Hydro Lab, right?
Yeah.
That big building
With Bill Yaden and those guys.
Yeah, and it felt like Mecca. Like I had arrived. Like I walked in and like Kurt Bolden was like blasting music in his office, and there's like 20 of the new Phoenix D-Hues drying concrete down below, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like I called my boss and I'm like, yo, I think Kurt will let me hang out for an extra day and just mess around. Like, is that all right? But yeah, those were some crazy, crazy times, man. And I'm thankful that I got to be a part of that section of history, of our industry's history, because it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was. I was just a young, I was probably 22, 23 years old. First time I
Mhm.
went to Chuck DeWald's class.
Yeah.
Just a snot-nosed, smart-ass, just,
Yeah.
with my hair on fire. But Andy Robinson was in there from John Donne.
Hmm.
Larry Carlson with Phoenix was there. Cliff Zlotnick was in that class. Um, what's her name? There was another one of the ladies who's big she lives up by Kurt Bolden, but does mold and stuff. She was there too. So
Rachel
I,
Adams.
I would Rachel Adams was in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Like it was an all-star class that I was in there, and I had no right to be in that room with
Yep.
those people learning this stuff. But I was able to, really form some initial relationships and get some really, really interesting mentorship through that. And so that really kind of propelled my trajectory in that mitigation side.
Yeah. No, those are the golden years, man.
Oh, it was
Like
so fun.
I feel like I'm, starting to get over the old, like over the old hill where I'm like, oh, I remember when. It's like I'm the guy that quotes Seinfeld now, you know?
You got the gray hair and you're, growing in and a
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Gray
little
in the
bit of
goat.
gray in the beard.
Yep. Gray in the goat.
Got the glasses on so we can see now. So yeah, but
Yep.
it's fun. It was an exciting time in restoration at that time. It was you had these brand new low grain refrigerants that were actually, and some guys who were actually thinking about trying to apply some science and figure out, like, trying to explain what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I think Marty King had a lot of influence on that too. I never really had the opportunity to meet him or hear anything, but I know he had influence on a lot of the people who influenced me. So,
Yeah.
but just bringing that education part and doing the teaching, and there was a lot of, like you were talking about a little bit earlier on your journey with IICRC a little bit ago, like hearing some of the stories with Chuck DeWald and Kurt Bolden in there trying to develop these S500 standards. I know there was a lot of long walks while some steam was blown off and some
Yep.
other things. I'm sure there's some good stories from the guys that were there that had it, but it sounded like it was a knockdown drag out on a lot of those standards as they were trying to evolve in those early years.
Yeah. That's I always like the phrase strong convictions loosely held. So fight for what you think is right, but given sufficient evidence, be willing to change your mind. Right.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So looking back on your time on the board, like what did you learn about RIA?
Excuse me. I found, the RIA is actually, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and we really suck at telling, our membership what we do. We're
Hmm.
getting better at it. But especially with the amount of noise in our own, the email boxes, our own text message, everything, it's just, and the news cycle is just so fast with everything happening nowadays. We really suck at telling our membership like what we're doing and all of the benefits and everything that's in there. Like the amount of time and effort on the position papers we've created, the labor calculator that Ben donated. There's a lot of things that have been donated in there. I know there's a bunch of even, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate traveling to go get CECs. I know we have a bunch of CECs on our there that you can go on and get and do these things. Excuse me. And it's pretty inexpensive, especially
Yeah.
first year. Like first year, you guys will spend more on a dinner with a client than you will for your membership for the entire
Yeah.
year, and you get access to all of that. And then it's like more of a membership based on just your revenue. Like you know, it's minuscule for the amount of effort, amount of stuff that's in there that you can get. And so I know as a board, we're trying to improve that message. We're trying to improve how we can make that knowledge and that information available to our clients and to actually our employees, because that's where we really struggle, is getting the penetration inside the companies.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that like if you look at the value proposition of ROI from the perspective of a restoration contractor, if all you did was leverage the affinity program. Like, and you don't even have to leverage all of it. Just pick the 2 that you really have an interest in. You can probably pay for your membership right there, and then leverage a position paper or 2, and you're getting paid to be a member of the RIA. Like I've done the math on it, and it's pretty staggering.
It's crazy. I mean, just if you rent a lot of equipment, like your Sunbelt Affinity membership will pay for it 10 times over pretty quickly. You know, there's a bunch going on there that you can use and do. You don't have to be part of a franchise or part of another franchise or association to do that. There's a lot that's there. Plus just attending one of the events and meeting the people there. There's a lot of institutional knowledge in the restoration space in there that you can just pick up for, you know, a drink or 2 at the bar, and you can meet some really interesting guys who help change and shape our industry that are just hanging out there willing to share. They may be going to bed a little bit early, so you got to get them between the 8 and 10, but
not all of them, man. Not all of them. There's
some of them are still
sure.
Some pros in there.
Yeah. And and the one thing I always think that's funny about our industry is if you don't have a servant's heart, you can't survive here. Like, the industry will just chew you up, spit you out, send you home. Right. And so everybody here has that go-giver mentality where they're like, look, I'm not just here to make the world a better place for myself. I'm here to make the world a better place for my customers, my clients, and then all my other friends within the restoration ecosystem. Like,
our competition, we're trying to elevate them for them too. So
yeah, exactly.
But
so
there's enough for everybody. So I mean, you got to have an abundance mentality that there's enough work for everybody, and you know, rising tide will raise all boats.
Yeah. And I always love those situations where we got beat because it's an opportunity to learn. I'm like, how'd they get that job? What did they do that I didn't do? What was I not thinking of? And how am I going to go take them out next time? And then, you know, I'll take them out next time. And then they come after me on the next one. And, you know, like, then we just sit down and talk about it. And we're like, you got me on that one, but buddy, watch out. I'm coming for you. But it's all in good fun, right?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we're all competitive. Like, nobody likes to lose, but hey, that's part of learning is when you get beat.
Yeah. So, you know, given your knowledge on, you know, software, AI, tech, whatever the hell you want to call that nebulous space of $1 billion in capital to get started, what do you see happening in restoration in the next 5 years? Like, if I said, Russ, populate a crystal ball that we can all leverage, what would we see?
Let's shorten it to probably 12 months. I don't know if 5 years is like crazy. I just saw in the chat. What's up, Jeff? Jeff Moore's on here listening to us. We should have him on here. He's smarter than both of us put together.
Fair.
Jeff, I got you right here too. Thanks for the earpods. I love these things. But yeah, crystal ball, holy cow, it's such an exciting time. So I'm going to have you seen Optimus? You know who Optimus is, the Elon's robot, right?
Yeah.
How soon do you think we can deploy Optimus into the restoration space?
I have no idea. I think you're in a better position to answer that question.
It's okay, so just some specs on it. It can work 5 hours. Like, when Elon gets it in full production, he's saying it's going to be between $20,000 and $30,000. It's going to have full AI integration to it. It can lift 40 pounds. It can pull, so it can lift air movers. It can pull a dehumidifier. At, let's say, $30 or $30,000. That's roughly $15 an hour employee. So you're going to have a $15 hour employee that's not going to complain. You'll be able to walk them through a job, right? Like, a $15 hour employee, you're just hoping he shows up on a Monday morning on time.
Yeah.
Like,
preferably sober.
Preferably mostly sober.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a helper. Like, you could walk in you can walk this thing through. It can walk up to 4 or 5 miles an hour. It can go up and down ramps. It can do a bunch of different things. You walk them through a building. It's got cameras, so it'll be able to take measurements. It's going to remember everything you tell it to do. It's going to be, hey, Optimus, I'm going to need 4 air movers in here. I'm going to need one there, one this room, right here. I need you to do the S500 calcs for me. You already have uploaded the calcs to it. You already upload your SOPs. Like, like something like that is pretty, like 6 months ago, I'd have thought you're full of crap, but I'm like thinking about it, looking at it. I'm like, this is highly viable that if I had my hands on Optimus right now, I could probably deploy it as a helper and use that pretty easily in my business today. And I can see it going there. Like as far as a crystal ball goes, like that's where I see the combination of AI and the amount of information that's available. And then the new, like the battery technology. So you have, really good battery capacity with also really small, plus the motors and the different motor skills. You can combine that all together. And I think you could deploy, like, I think in about 3 to 4 weeks, I could have a fully deployed Optimus robot as an assistant, maybe even faster than that. Like if you ask ChatGPT, that it already knows S500.
Yeah. Well, and then with the Wemos in Phoenix, you could be like, hey, Optimus, go pick up these 4 air movers if it's dry. And it's like, see ya.
And how expensive is it to add in an infrared camera?
Yeah.
Or even a thermal hygrometer.
Yeah.
Or even, or even like a protimeter in the fingers. It can go around, rub his finger, like, you know what I mean? Like adding some of these things.
So we're gonna go back to the place where we used to just put our hands on the wall and be like, yep, that's wet.
You could though, like you know what I mean? Like when you start thinking about this, you're like, holy crap, like what, like it, like I used to think our restoration space was pretty safe, but you saw Elon launch his taxi van thing that he had. I mean, that can hold 6 or 8 DHUs and probably 30 or 40 fans if you pile it up right, and you could have 2 robots, 3 robots in there. And I mean, if you really saw fully deployed in the next 10 to 15 years, a call would come in, you would have your agent take all the information, which is a large language model, taking all the information, creating a job file. At that point, it would get some information. It would probably be collecting photos from the customer at the time, so it'd start understanding what's going on. And on the back end, it's dispatching a couple Optimus in a self-driven taxi. There, you could have, like in reality, on a mitigation part, you could almost have a fully autonomous restoration company where you don't even really need many employees.
Yeah. I think we'll never get away from like people wanting to do business with people.
Yeah. I think there'll be a customer aspect there.
Yeah.
Especially in the transition as people, move to the Jetsons, but, but at some point it would be, you're hiring customer service guys that are just talking to the customers while there's the machines in the background doing the work.
You know what I want? I want one to just fold my laundry and put it away. Like, can we do that? Imagine the hours of productivity the average American would get back if they just had their laundry folded and put away.
Yeah, if you talk to Elon, he thinks every person's going to have at least 1 or 2 personal Optimus robots that will do that. They'll cook, clean, laundry, like take care of a lot of those things. And people say, well, what are we going to do at that point when the cost of capital, the cost of humans, the cost of people becomes, the cost of labor, not people, the cost of labor becomes so low, the economy will have almost unlimited capacity to do just about whatever you want. So a lot of people are like, well, what's going to happen to my jobs? Well, the jobs are going to look different. I liken it to go back a few hundred years, guys were digging holes with shovels. Along comes a tractor. Hey, I don't like the tractor. Well, it digs a hole a little bit faster than you and doesn't get as tired. So you embrace the tractor. Now you're doing more work and the economy got bigger by the rise of the machines. And so if you embrace it that way and just realize, hey, instead of learning how to dig a hole with a shovel, I need to learn to dig a hole with a tractor. How am I going to use these or deploy this technology or deploy the new capacities and create a bigger economy, a bigger abundance, a bigger, more stuff in my life is what it really boils down to. I mean, there's people that are not going to want to embrace it, and that's their choice. But those that do have a choice to embrace it are going to be able to really, kind of really, it's going to be unlimited capacities. I know there's a bet in Silicon Valley that they're trying to figure out when the first $1 billion one-person company is going to be.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah. So now that you've scared the shit out of all of us pretty sufficiently, what advice do you have for restorers to be ready?
Goes back to what I introduced in New Hampshire, FAFO, F around and find out, like start playing with it. I know, I'm 52 years old, so I'm kind of on the tail end of technology and what, my kids know how to use it way better than I do.
Yeah.
But like, how do you start messing around with it and using it? Do you have the Chat GPT or another one of those apps on your phone? And how often do you use that instead of Google?
Yeah.
Or do you, like, one of the things I like to do when I go walk my dogs or go out for a walk is, instead of listening to Audible and listening to a book, I do what I call walk and talk. You have the audio version of ChatGPT on the paid version. It's $20 a month. It's about the same price as Netflix, but I can ask it about a book I want to read, break it down by chapter, break it down like how I can apply that to me, and it'll start spitting out a bunch of stuff for me. Like, you can ask it just about whatever you want. You have this, phone in your pocket that has unlimited information on it, and now you have a way to interface it, ask it, and get some reasoning out of it on how that works. And so anything you want to do, like, there was a buddy of mine texted me the other night. He's like, "Hey, what'd you do?" I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, "I was asking ChatGPT about restoration companies in Arizona, and it brought up Titan Restoration." I said, "Well, I guess we pay the most in ChatGPT fees or something. I don't know." But it was talking about restoration companies and it's talking about Titan Restoration. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. So,
I fired up the voice Chat GPT. Like, I was working on something in my office, and my girls, my 7-year-old and 4-year-old were down here, and they were like, "Dad, what's this?" And I was like, "Okay, smash, like, talk to me like I'm 7 years old." And then I was like, "Go ahead, ask it some questions." And they were like, "Tell us about dinosaurs." Like, Chat GPT's like, "Oh, dinosaurs are super cool. Let me tell you about that." I was like, wow, this is pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, it's been probably, 35, 40 years since I've had an algebra class. I don't remember how to do algebra. But when my kids come to ask me how to do algebra, like, we go to Chat GPT now.
Yeah.
And instead of asking it for the answer, because that's all the kids want, I'm like, I give it some prompts. I say, you're a tutor and you're not going to give me the answer. You're going to help me find the answer and go through it and walk them through it. And so now, instead of me getting frustrated as a parent because I can't remember and I got to relearn how to do it, like, it's got a tutor built in that's going through, walking through them, and it's got infinite patience, and it's teaching them how to solve this problem without giving them the answers and encouraging them and, getting them in some different directions. And it works pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But we have this unlimited capacity. Like, as far as restorers getting better, like, learn how to start asking questions. The better the questions are, the better the prompts, as they put it in AI, the better responses you're going to get. Start to learn the limitations, start learning what it can and can't do. If you're confused, like, what a good question to ask, ask it, hey, what kind of questions should I ask you to get this type of response or this type of answer? And it'll like, you can pit it against each other, and you can use different AI models in order to do that. So you can get different answers. It's like, they've been trained on a little bit of different data, but they can give you some different perspectives on some different things. And then you can use, even in the paid version of AI, there's, I think, 5 or 6 different models that do different things. So you can see some reason, you can see some that just spit out quick answers. And so there's different capacities there too. So just start, playing around with it. Just use it and just ask it questions. Start uploading stuff to it. Be careful with, a lot of I'm sure your companies don't want you to just start uploading all your, financials or that kind of stuff. Anonymize it a little bit so that you're not, totally releasing it, because it is going out to the internet and it will be used to be learned on. But yeah, if you have questions, ask it. Have it help you. Hey, I need an SOP on how to do a water damage, and it's going to do 80% of the work in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of go in, you can fine tune it, tweak it, play with it, and then you can create like, an SOP pretty quick on whatever you want it to do, and just start playing. Just start playing with it. It's there, like, it's like Jarvis in Iron Man. He just asked Jarvis to do everything for him, and that's the relationship that we're going to get to with these AI models. Is they're going to be our own personal Jarvis.
Wow. What questions do you have for me?
What questions do I have for you? I don't know.
I always ask a bunch of questions, and I always feel like it's unfair. I'm always like, I always conclude, and I'm like, hey, what do you want to know?
Oh man, like I don't. What are your thoughts? Sometimes I get in my own little echo chamber. Like, what are your thoughts on what do you see in your sphere and kind of your little world?
So, as one that's always mindful of the bleeding edge of technology, right? Like, you're like $1 billion just to start. That's always in the back of my head, right? When I'm always trying to time the investment at the point that it's going to reliably create return. And, one of the litmus tests that I've created in the back of my brain is when you can use a combination of whatever, right? 0 human interaction. If I can prompt an AI model or whatever, a geospace model, to answer the question, what is the thickness of the drywall in this space? Then I will know we have arrived and it's time to invest. Like, that's been, I can't get over it. And I'm waiting for somebody to disprove me. But if you can solve for that, because it's not something you can look at on an image and just know. Yes, you could reverse engineer and look up code books, but code is subject to the time that it was built. You could use your date, but you're still making an assumption, right? It's not a confirmation. Like, I want to know, is it 1/2 inch or 5/8? And when we can solve for that, then I'm like, okay, we've got viable technology that's worth really sincerely spending tons of capital on. And so, like, using your example of the Optimus robot, it's like, okay, yeah, it could go in and it could cut a hole and measure the thickness. I'm sure it has those capabilities, but how does it do it without cutting a hole? Right. And if we can get there, I'm like, okay, I'm bought in. Let's go.
Well, let me ask you this, like, are you going to wait to buy an iPhone until it hits iPhone 20? Or are you going to buy the iPhone 1, 2, and 3 along the way and invest in that just to take advantage of what it did?
And totally, upstream of that, yeah, several other litmus tests. It's like I use Chat GPT every day, most of the time for like recipes. Like, I need a recipe to cook dinner for my kids, and here's what I have in the cabinets right now, right? Or like, my wife will ask me a question about something. I'll be like, I don't know, that's a good question. And I'll ask the question, right, and get a good constructed response. And so, yeah, like, I find value in using the technology, but when I think about the practical application of where there's going to be a step function change for us as restorers, there's still some gaps we have to cover.
There is, but there's also like, let's go to one of the biggest time sucks in restoration on a construction side is what? You go out and write the estimate, send it to the adjuster. Adjuster sends you his estimate. Now, what do
Mhm.
you have to do? How many hours does it take you to compare the two estimates?
Mhm.
So first off, you got to look at them to make sure the scope's the same, like
Mhm.
just the measurements, and then you got
Yep.
to figure out what's difference in the scope because we're all using, for lack of a better term, we're all using Xactimate. We're using the same price list, the same pricing, everything
Yeah.
for the, because you can change the price list, but you better not change the price list type mentality you have when you're
Yep.
dealing with your adjusters. And so we're starting with a really good spot, but still you're going to spend an hour to 2 hours usually going through an estimate, especially if it's 200 or 300 line items, trying to figure out where the differences are, what those look like, and then try and figure out, okay, now that we have the differences, where the measurements are the same, the pricing is the same, but like what are the line items that are being left out? And then you got to craft an email that goes back and says, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is why I'm asking for this line item. Okay, yes. I normally don't ask for paint and mask, but I got to mask this. There's,
Yeah.
ABC reasons or whatever that looks like. And so you have to craft that, and then the adjuster gets it and he has to do the exact same thing. Like there's data that's there, and being able to do those two estimates and compress them together and put them together, like
Mhm.
that's going to create some efficiencies on your estimators and get rid of a bunch of those time sucks. Like that's happening right now. I was just at Elevate. There's a startup company that's just starting up that's integrated with Xactimate that's doing that on the carrier side. So they can
Mhm.
compare them and look and see what those looks like. There's a guy that just dropped a beta. A guy named Greg just dropped a beta on the exact same thing for the contractors. He has it for
Mhm.
free. It's his website, apexerainc.com, something like that. I'll have to look it up and see. But he so he's got that, and he's making some of these tools for free. And there's guys that are out there, restorers that are out doing these tools for free that are kind of just getting a proof of concept more than anything, just to get some momentum.
Yeah.
Because like in the startup world, you just got to get a minimum viable product, something
Yep.
that kind of works. And then you realize either you're going the wrong direction, you're climbing up the wrong wall or something like that.
Yeah.
But or you're like, hey, I know I'm kind of in the right direction. Let's keep building. And so the market will kind of reinforce what's good and what's not. But just using getting those little
Yeah.
wins and getting those little things is kind of the big thing that you need to just play with and do. And so that's really like where AI is in its infancy. Like you don't need to spend tons of money. Use the free tools. Start playing with them. There's different tools out there that are free, and don't grab Chat GPT like it's a hammer and go look around, look at everything like it's a nail. Like
Yeah.
figure out the problem and then go find the right tool to solve that problem. There's so many different tools out there to do that.
Yeah. I think that was AI's way of telling us that we need to wrap this down. Turning your lights off.
Is it getting there yet?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna look up that website so I can put it in the chat. Matt Gregory. So he has apexerainc.com.
Yeah. I just threw it in as a comment. So now we can have it.
So he's got a few different ones. He has what he calls Chat GPP. So it's like a water-based one. And then there's also Excavate. Again, I've just been playing with a bunch of different tools and just trying them out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
trust, like it's such in its infancy. Play with it. Like try it,
Mhm.
verify, go through and do the additional work, but use it as a tool to get 80% of your work done.
Mhm.
And if it can get 80% done in that much time and say that, then you just have to do the magic, put the magic in, put your polishing touches on it and do it that way.
Totally agree. Anything else before we wrap down?
I don't know. Like this is such a fun time to be in the restoration space. There's so much going on. It's you know, it's exciting. There's a bunch of different things happening. That's the technology space really excites me. But like, how do we get more efficiencies and productivity out of our employees
Mhm.
and be able to do more with less is what the technology really should do for us. And if we can accomplish that, then I think I think we can get a win, and we can do that. And at that point, if your company's growing and you're doing the same thing with your employees, helping them grow, investing in them, and helping them be better versions of themselves, like, the nice thing about restoration is if your dreams are big enough, you can encompass the dreams of your employees inside your own dreams to help them accomplish their dreams too. So that's really, like, as all small business owners, that's kind of what we really want to do, is see everybody around us succeed too, not just be at the top by ourselves, lonely, and think we're successful, because that's not success.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking some time to spend with me today, Russ. Good luck with the event in Phoenix, and I will see you in West Palm.
Yeah. Don't forget to go sign up, guys. RIA, just go sign up at the RIA website. I think it's $49 you're a member, $99 if you're not.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you go and you don't find any value, hit me up. I'll give you $100 back. So I think you'll find that
There you
much
go.
value. I'm sure Jeff would do the same too, but I think it's going to be a really good event. And I think if you feel like there's zero value there, I'll put my money where my mouth is. We're both putting it on, and I think we're going to provide enough value that, I don't think I'll pay anybody out, but come on over and try it out.
Yeah, I'm sad I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
I need an optimist to go attend for me.
I'll tell you what, I'll record it, and I'll do an AI version of it for you, so you can send it and you'll have access to it. So
perfect. All right, man. I appreciate you.
Yep. Good to see you.
Take care.
Thanks. We'll see you.